All right, you may have noticed that you're not looking at me, and that's because I was too lazy to set up the lighting inside the house, so I came out into the garden temple, took a look around and decided I could sit on my scooter and film this, which is a nice shot, and tell a story or two. The life and times of J. Bryan Waddington. Now, my mother thought that a double-barreled first name, John Bryan, should be really impressive if you took it down and said J. Bryan Waddington. So that's the first story, why I'm calling this The Life and Times of J. Bryan Waddington. Now, there's a lot of times and places, but I want to talk about when I first came down to the Philippines. Myra was a church worker, and she was traveling around at Christmas doing church worker type stuff. We thought it would be a good idea if I came down and we got to show me the Philippines. I got to see her at work, and we got to enjoy each other's company. Now, this particular trip was in Mindanao. Started off in Davao. We flew into Davao. Now that's important because on this trip we started with an airplane, we went to a bus, a tricycle, a jeepney, and we ended up on a hubble, which is a 155cc motorcycle equipped to carry up to 7 people, or one not too big bull tied sideways on it. And we ended up, well, where we ended up is the end of the story, so let's go back to the start. We flew into Davao, and we went to Dr. Dave's safe house. He was an interesting fellow who eventually got killed. Nobody knows if it was an extrajudicial killing or just bad timing in a bar. But he was a good man, and he did die too early. But we went to his safe house, where we spent a very loud night because the turkeys were sleeping under our window. Or our windows. We were not married at that point. But boy, was it hard to get to sleep with them squawking all night. Later, somebody stole them. I was ever so happy they were gone. But that's another story. We're at Dave's safe house. The next morning, we were going to leave for a plantation. A Dole banana plantation, of all things. Myra's got to do some work with the church that's there. Oh, it's just... oh, they're moving. Yeah, Lord knows. Those are our geese in the background. Now, before we left, Dave took us aside because he wanted to talk to me. He wanted to tell me that if the bad guys came, I'm going to see if I can get the geese here. No, they're moving. We'll go back to where we were. Oh, there's one right there. Yeah. That if the bad guys came, now they're going away, and kidnapped me, which was a distinct possibility, that I should just be very, very calm, cool, and collected, and let them do their thing. It's a business down in that part of the Philippines, and they would have eventually got paid, they thought, and let me go. I don't know if they would have, but they thought they would have. And that kind of set me up for a interesting trip. I was sort of primed for stuff. But as I say, we left Dave's house, Dave's safe house, and we went by tricycle, which is sort of a poor man's cab. It's a small motorcycle with a sidecar. We got to the bus depot and we got on the bus. We drove for a few hours on a bus. Myra was kind of nice and kind to me at that point. She started to peel me lemons, little lemon seedles. They're actually a very small fruit, but they're keep your mouth wet. They're good. And once we got off the bus, we got on a hubble hubble, which is a small motorcycle with an extended back seat, 155cc, and they extend the seat and they can carry a good 7 people, or a small bull. We've seen them carrying small bulls strapped sideways. It was interesting. And we headed off down the road for quite a while, and the road got smaller and smaller and smaller and narrower. Eventually we came to the very end of the road, and we had driven through the world's first, what looked to me like safe-sex banana plantation. They wrapped the bananas in sacks so that they will ripen quicker and the bugs will stay away. Very strange look. We got off the hubble hubble, and we were confusing people when we got off because they weren't expecting, and I'll use an improper term here, a white man. But there I was, so they had to figure out what to do with us because we were together. So they put us in the mayor's house. Now this is a nice old Filipino house. 2-story, made out of wood. And because it's so hot, the walls don't go to the ceiling or the floors for better air circulation, and they put Myra in one room and me in another, and we were right beside each other. And we spent an enjoyable time listening to people and talking da-da-da-da-da. And at the back of my head, of course, is that we're in rebel territory, or freedom fighter, depending whose side you're on. But it comes bedtime, and about 10 o'clock they turn off the generators because there's no outside electricity, so it's dark unless you got a candle. Myra and I go to bed. About 2 in the morning, I get woken up by the most incredible blood-curdling scream I have ever heard. It goes on and on for 4, 5, 10, 15 seconds, and then suddenly, zap, it cuts off, just like somebody's throat was slit. Now I'm on a bed that's actually too short for me, so I'm sleeping diagonally on it, and it's built low to the ground. I can't get under the bed to hide. Now I got no weapons, so hiding is a good idea, and I'm sitting there and I'm saying, what am I going to do? Do I pull a John Wayne? Do I take out my lighter? I was still smoking then. Didn't have a flashlight, but I did have a lighter. Do I put my lighter on, go downstairs and see what's going on with a John Wayne move and get myself killed? Or not? Do I go wake up Myra? Do I find a dark corner to try to hide in? I decided I'd wait to see what the house did. If they don't wake up and get agitated, I'm going to stay calm, stay in bed, and let it go. Turned out nobody got up but me. Fair enough. So there I am, wondering what the heck that was. Don't wake anybody up, I go back to sleep. Next morning, I say to Myra, what, did you get woke up by that noise? And she says, what noise? She didn't hear a thing. And we're in next rooms right beside each other with walls that don't go to the top or the bottom. This puzzles me. I asked a couple other people, what happened last night about 2 in the morning? And they say, I didn't hear anything. Nothing unusual went on here. And I'm beginning to think that somebody's telling me lies, so I'm not going to get worried. Then I see a pastor that we talked to the day before, and I sidled over to him slow and easy, and I said to him, hey, what happened last night? I heard the most blood-curdling scream I've ever heard. And he looked at me and he said, but when did this happen? I said, 2 o'clock in the morning, but nobody else seems to have heard it, or they're not telling me. So you tell me, would you, what's going on? And he looked at me and he smiled and he kind of chuckled and he said, well, you know, there's no refrigeration here. 2 o'clock in the morning was just the right time to butcher the pig for lunch that we're going to have today. And I looked at him and I said, oh, of course, that makes sense. I had never felt like such a fool in all my life, but I was a city boy. I'd never heard butchering going on for real. Later that day, snack time. And they bring out the boiled potatoes. Well, that's all right. Potatoes are a good snack. Now, I'm a Canadian, a white man, and I eat potatoes with or without the skin, depending on the time and my inclination. So I get the potato, and these little kids that haven't often seen somebody that looks like me are standing around and looking up at me. And all of a sudden I start eating the potato with the skins on. And they look at me, and they look at me, and they burst out laughing and shaking their heads, and they run away. And I looked at my lady and I said, what was that all about? She said, well, Brian, over here you peel the potatoes before you eat them. Everybody knows that. And I said, oh, okay, well, at least I taught the kids that white men can be wrong. It was an interesting time. Lots of strange transportation, sunshine, being where the people live an entirely different life than I had been used to. The life and times of J. Brian Waddington. And I think that's about enough, so I'm going to count to 5 and turn this off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bye-bye. Have a good day.